Hello, this is my final presentation for the custom feature for the A2 game engine in EECS 498 currently and EECS 404 in the future. So for my feature, I did a custom feature length, not a feature length game, but a game. And last time we checked in, all I had was just the player being able to be controlled and shoot. And since then, I fully implemented a boss type enemy and a title screen. So I'll just run through some of the major component changes just to see the actual code before I go ahead and play the game, and hopefully I can beat it first try, but we'll see. So what I mainly added was I added a game, just a game manager. I based a lot of this off the principles I saw in the shoot 'em up test case with Donna, just because that layout was obviously quite good because it's made by the professor. But so yeah, we have a game engine. We have a game manager for keeping all of our projectiles and then checking the end conditions of the fight. And then there's three components to the boss. We have the main head, which uses a state system to decide what he should be doing. And I only ended up getting to two different attacks for him. I'll kind of talk about this throughout the video, that there's a lot of stuff I just couldn't get to particularly just because of time constraints and how long other stuff took. So there's some features that are missing from my check-in presentation, but I figure it should be all right. I think the game came together quite nicely even with some stuff missing. But yeah, we just have two attacks here. Just use these states to determine it and just alternate between the two. And then some different ways to instantiate bullets for that list. And then go to the other hands. And then there's two hand enemies on the side. There's hand 1 and 2. Not too crazy of a name, but yeah, they also keep track of they have these to keep track of what the other two enemies are doing, because I had to figure out a way to kind of sync them all together so that it acted like one big thing rather than three separate entities. But yeah, this is also just idle animation, and I wanted to do two phases like I said, but that didn't come together in a super fleshed out way, but I ended up deciding to do it based off of just the HP changes, the different states or different attacks it can do. So we have a charge attack in the first phase, but then second phase add on a laser attack, which I think looks really cool. We'll get to that. And then charge in, charge out. That was interesting because I had to find a way for the state to not change while he was charging, because there's an attack where it'll move across the screen, but it has to move back as well before doing other stuff. So that was interesting to figure out. And then I didn't show this, but all of them have a side-to-side movement where they just kind of idle around just so they're not static when they're not attacking. And then if I can find it, yeah, there's also a stun, because I didn't want you to be able to kill the side enemies, just because I wanted them to, they were the ones who were going to soup up for that second phase, like I said, which ended up just being an extra attack. But yeah, they have a timer, they get stunned on, and obviously a lot of these numbers need adjusting for balancing, which a big part of this I realized, like when designing a fight like this, there's a lot of design and like balancing that goes into it, which I actually would spend a lot of time on, because it wouldn't be like complicated to do. It'd just be literally adjusting numbers, but just finding the right feel for these numbers was fun. It was fun to do, just to figure out, like, because for me, I like stuff a little harder, but I was trying to think of what other people would like, and I think it's still skewed a bit hard. But hand 2, honestly, it's pretty much the same thing. This if I could go back, I feel like there'd be a better way to do this, because this is definitely violating dry. A lot of this is literally code for code, the exact same, except like flipping a couple numbers. So that was a little annoying, but it is what it is. And then we have some different collision schemes, nothing too crazy, just checking radius. And then the player has to, be checking all of the different collisions it can have with the hands or the boss itself. These are the actual entities themselves, not the bullets. Kind of naming is weird because this is and then this is where the enemy takes damage just from the bullets and stuff. Bullets do 1 damage, and I'll get into this now. The parry ability I spoke about, I didn't end up getting to that, but the ideal mechanic would have been that once you parry 3 or 4 bullets in a row, you would then double your damage. So this number could have been changed to be a variable that would be changed based off is parry active. But I think from there, and the dash is really cool actually. So the dash just works where it gives you iframes when you do it, kind of based off of Enter the Gungeon, if anyone's played that, how you have a kind of a roll / dodge you can do. Kind of same idea. You move really fast in one direction. The duration kind of changes how far you go, because it's obviously changes how much velocity you get. So have that, and then the cooldown just for how much you can, because obviously if you could do it too much, it'd be a little unbalanced. But it worked out pretty nicely. But from here, I think it's time we actually play the game. And the goal is hopefully beat this first try, but maybe take a couple tries to just show everything in action. So load. All right. So the working title I decided on was just Stars of Issac, just because that's kind of where the whole idea started from. The theming was from Stars of Providence, just like a space roguelike, which is why everything kind of has this spacey background, and the player is a ship, and you'll see the boss and such are ships as well. So, all right, we'll try this out. Let's see how this goes. So you just press space to start the fight, and here we are. We have 3 different enemies, and there's the charge attack, and these are actually desynced, so they won't go at the same time, because they were like that originally, but I found it a little annoying. It'd be pretty hard to do. And the boss just has 2 different shot patterns. One of them is a tracking one, which I find that one honestly the hardest to dodge, and then the other one's just big fan spread, kind of classic little bullet hell move. But that could definitely also be adjusted, just because it's big old wide ring. Could adjust how fast they go, or could shoot out multiple at a time. So that's all the attacks in the first phase, I could say, but I'll show off that stun now. So the hands have, I think, 10 health, and that's just number I came up with. And see, when they stun, the hand kind of goes inactive. Figured that was a way to let the play. It gets a lot easier when just one hand's going, honestly. So I figured it was a good way to get it to stun. But once the stun ends, he is back in action, and works for both. And when you die, it just does a hot reload of the scene, which I wish I would have done some retry screens and a congratulations screen, but I ran out of time just because the attacks, just syncing everything up, kind of took a good bit of time. So all right, this time I'm just going to try to get the boss to phase 2, because that'll kind of show off everything. Honestly, the hitboxes could also use a little balancing as well. Specifically the bullets, I feel like sometimes the bullets feel like they really get you, even when you're they'll barely hit you and it'll count. But oh gosh, as you can see, I'm not doing too great. And actually, I'll talk about some play testing that happened as well. I have a friend we game a lot together, and I had him play test it, And originally I had the hands, they wouldn't go low enough, like how that one just hit me really low. My friend was playing and I noticed he just went right down here, like once he figured out you could, because the hands wouldn't go down there. So he was actually able to beat it pretty easily like that, just because basically all he had to do was dodge the bullets. So I had to do some balancing there. Just it was literally just adjusting some numbers for how big their range of movement is, but it's definitely interesting the design process of doing all this, but it was a lot of fun to do that just because I haven't made a lot of games in the past. All right, well, I died again, but I might have to cut the video short, but hopefully I can lock in and do this because I just want to get to the laser attack. As you can see, this it's a little hard, honestly. I think a bit hard for most people. I'm a big Dark Souls fan, so I'm not too peeved by challenging stuff, but this is definitely not super beginner friendly, to put it one way. And doing pretty good now, actually, because yeah, there's still a bit of an issue where if the hands kind of start, oh, here we go, and yeah, there goes the lasers, and they end up shooting across the screen. They'll pick one side they're closest to, or that one actually does the opposite, because okay, yeah, but as you saw, the laser attack, basically they go to the edge of the screen and then they will just move across the whole thing, and that was also to negate that edge space where you can just you could sit originally, be a little easier. But the dash is actually quite useful for it. I was trying to follow the principle where a mechanic should really only be in the game if it actually serves a purpose and is useful. And that was what the lasers were for initially, but it's also just very useful for getting out of that range of the claw, just because they move pretty quick and get across most of the screen. Oh, here we go. And there we go. Perfect dodge. And I get hit by a bullet. But yeah, if you just watch the hands, they'll move up and down. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the laser attack turned out specifically. I really like that one. Okay, yeah, then you saw there a bit of balancing issue where the lasers can get synced up like that, where they're really close to one another, and it kind of puts you in a spot where you can't dodge both of them, just because I implemented the dash where you have to be holding a direction before you can do it. So in that case, like, you move towards the laser and then you'll get hit by it because the hitbox is not, as precise as a like super polished game would be with like proper balancing. But oh, here we go. But I like it when it does that, honestly. It looks cool. Okay. All right, I will give this one more try as I talk about it a little bit more, but honestly, I'd love to keep working on this and get it fully balanced, because I think the idea is there. Obviously, people who play it can be the judge of that, because it's not for them. That was a nice dodge. Hey. But yeah, definitely a lot more balancing through play testing needs to happen, and ironing out some of the mechanics to be a little more fair. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, one more. Don't want to make this video too long. And really, the main thing I wish I would have had time for is, animations and whatnot, like taking damage, because I think the hardest part of this is there's no telegraphs for a lot of this stuff. It just kind of happens, which I would like to add, like a waiting thing almost, where the hand will pause for a second or something, just so you have a better idea of when it's actually about to do something. Because right now they really just like go. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this is the game though. I think it turned out. I like how it turned out, honestly. I I definitely noticed I was getting to the trap of Okay, yeah, you saw there. But uh also the game is beatable. I have beat it before. Because I figured, the game definitely is not balanced if I can't even beat it. But it is beatable. I'm able to do it, but it's not super easy even for me, which I think I'm pretty decent at games like this. It was actually funny. I would like boot up some roguelikes for a little while I was playing this and kind of look at how they function and be like, wow, like this is really polished in like the balance and stuff. But I was just trying to keep those in mind with like attacks and stuff because I feel like there's a lot of tried and true stuff. So it was cool to see stuff and be like, wow, that must have been quite difficult to implement. Oh, we got a stun. That's good. Oh, and it's nope. Yeah, controls are a little finicky as well. In the development, I almost wanted to add controller support for a bit just because I was like, that would be really nice with this, just because the keys are just controlling stuff with keys is always a little janky for games if they're not like really designed. Oh my gosh. Okay, but I'll leave it off on that. Yeah, I forgot to rename it too, but Doer Jump Through is kind of funny. But yeah, that is the game. I hope to keep working on it, honestly, get it polished out, ironed out with some damage animations and whatnot. But I'm proud of how it turned out, and I think that will be it. I would like to upload it to itch.io as well. I've just never done that before, but once everything's polished out a little bit more, I'll definitely upload that for other people to play. But that will be the end of the video. Thank you for watching.